Hello and welcome to the Foxcatcher Review Show. My name's Julian Valence, joined in a Sydney location somewhere, some type of dungeon, some type of cavern, some type of chasing the dragon environment. Nico Ashman, day one champs done and dusted. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. It's the punt dungeon, and we only chase horses, no dragons in this dungeon. So everything's above board, Jules. I'm over 18. I'm having a punt. It's perfectly legal.
Good.
Let's not draw attention to anything else that we don't need to talk about. Now, day one of the championships, magnificent day out at Randwick. The sun was blazing across Sydney on Saturday afternoon. We got that upgrade, which we'll talk about in a moment's time when we do the track intel. Good crowd on course. We got to see Aeliana. She was really good in the Derby. Look out the spring. She'll be coming down your way, no doubt, in October and then maybe also in November. And then I thought also TJ Smith, great result there with Briasa getting up. A bit of a slim, shady sort of Eminem type of result for mine. Someone had to put their hand up. Someone had to stand up, and it was Briasa's turn. And then the Doncaster Mile probably didn't rate quite as well as we'd hoped it would, but the softish tempo played into the hands of a 1,400-metre horse, of course, Steffi Magnetica.
All right, let's get into the track intel because it's just important because we've got Randwick obviously this week for day two championships, and then we have day three theoretically, not of the championships, but they do they have another week as well at Randwick. So give us the intel of the true possession, the entire circuit. We did get the upgrade. What did we think of this track and how it played?
Look, on Thursday when we spoke, we said lanes 5+ will provide the bulk of the winners. Now, that's exactly what eventuated. The little curveball we got was that we got told sort of on Friday that those inside lanes were starting to dry up and that probably by race day or at some point in the afternoon, they wouldn't be such a penalty. Now, they may not have been. I went through and had a look. You can count on two hands how many horses used lanes 1 to 4. So it didn't really get tested out. And the SP of most of those horses was quite high. So I feel like it might have been a case where maybe lanes 3 and 4 were okay, but just no one really tested it out. They all got well off the fence. Lanes 5 and beyond, 6 of the 10 winners were within 3 lengths of the lead at the 600-metre mark. So whilst we only had 1 leader win, I don't think it was a disadvantage to be a touch forward of midfield.
Beautiful. That's the track intel for Randwick for day one championships. And as we said, there's 2 more weeks at that track coming. Let's get to the hen house, my friend. Got a bit in here you wanted to go through, and there's only one that is the Group 1 race. We'll get to all the group races throughout this show, but lead us off because your first hen house is race 2, and it might have been a horse from down my way.
Yeah, Belle d'Etel. I think she was having her first run north of the border for Chris Waller, of course, who bases himself primarily here in Sydney at Rose Hill, but Belle d'Etel had been doing plenty of racing down in Victoria. She came up to Sydney. She was off the map. We'll talk about that in a few minutes' time. Preliminary was your favourite for the race. Overall time here, look, half a second outside standard time, but the last 400, 200, 22.3 and 11.18, I mean, that's 5-6 lengths inside what we expect from this grade of horse. So they really ripped home real hard over that last 400 metres. It was nothing more than a dash up the straight. First 2 fillies across the line are very, very good. I think the fact that Belle d'Etel, she was there to be out sprinted by Preliminary, who does have a good turn of foot. She's got wins over shorter distances. For mine, it's a question of do they back up? One of these 2 horses are the only 2. I think mainly the winner, Belle d'Etel, could be the only horse that could knock off Treasure of the Moment if it's possible to knock her off. And I just think maybe 2,400 metres. Obviously, she's closely related to Very Elegant, who won a Caulfield and Melbourne Cup in 2 years apart or a year or so apart. I would think that Chris Waller, knowing how patient he is, my bet, he dodged Treasure of the Moment with Aeliana. I don't think Belle d'Etel's as good as Aeliana, with all due respect. My gut tells me she'll probably head north for Queensland. So she might be a good Queensland oats bet in a few weeks' time. I'll get it out eventually.
No, you did. Just with that, I mean, this is just providing the punters out there. For me, this is the beautiful platform race to run in a 7-day backup, though. You've got that 100%. Slowly run race and you have just zipped home, in essence, the last 600. And that 11.18 last 200 shows that this is, if you're ever going to back up a horse and go, you're going to springboard off a run, this is the type of run. So it's a race I want these horses on this 7-day backup to run. And as much as we love Treasure of the Moment, they have got every opportunity to run to their ultimate peak of whatever that is next Saturday in the Australian Oaks, in my opinion.
I agree with you 100%. I think particularly the winner, Belle Detel, I think she's probably, without being a pedigree expert, I'll just pop the cap on momentarily, given it is English Sales Week here in Sydney. She's got that pedigree by Z, as I said, closely related to Very Elegant, to run out a very strong 2,400 metres. Treasure of the Moment's probably more your mile, 2,000 metre horse. That should just beat him on Brilliance. So I think there's a great opportunity here for her to back up and beat Treasure of the Moment. But I just wonder if Chris goes, you know what, we'll just go to the Roses and win the Queensland Oaks instead, because that's guaranteed. Whereas once she backs up and goes to 2,400 metres, if it is a test on Saturday, which she needs it to be to have any chance of beating Treasure of the Moment, once you've gone to that distance on a 7-day backup, can you then go to Queensland? It's a different kettle of fish altogether.
Yeah, it's a good point. Very good point. Let's get to another hen house race. It's race 5, won by Know Thyself. You were impressed with this one?
Yeah, look, half a second inside standard time, pretty good. Last 400, 200, given the speed of this race. It was a really fast run race. They went through the first 800 metres, 6 lengths above standard. I think this is a stakes horse, Know Thyself, winner of 5 from 10 or 5 from 11. Think back to this race. This race has produced some handy horses over the years, clearly innocent. Back in the original days of the championships, 2017-18, I think it was. He won, and he went on to be a pretty handy galloper for Greg Bennett. I can see Know Thyself maybe going back to the Massara base at Scone. Maybe it runs in a race like the Luskin Star, and we find out whether or not this horse can measure up against those, metro horses at stakes level. So I think it's a pretty smart galloper, though, and the time certainly suggests that.
And last that goes into the hen house for you is one of the Group 1s. It was the TJ Smith Stakes. We spoke about it on Thursday that maybe this is going to be the start of the changing of the guard of these sprinters that we've seen. And I think this horse probably fits that bill. He's now knocked off a Group 1 weight for age. So this is now going to be his life in this sort of grade. You're not going to be able to sort of hide in these handicap races sometimes. So you're happy enough with this performance? He can continue to progress?
Yeah, I thought he was fantastic. Obviously, he was unlucky. He had a wide gate in the Galaxy, 54.5 kilos. He jumps 4 kilos. We said that was the trick for him. He was nice and firm in the marketplace as well. I know he's 550 out to 7, but back into 650. They were happy to nibble out that $7. He sat sort of pretty handy to that, I'd say, soft tempo. They went through the first 600 metres about 2 or 3 lengths below standard. So, and he was able to zip home. Last 400 metres was more than 5 lengths inside standard time in what we expect from this grade. So it was a good, sharp sprint. So we now know that this horse has got a good top speed. And I just thought the overall time was still pretty good. He sprinted off that soft tempo, good performance. I know the margins weren't there, but I just thought he was pretty good. I think he's 7 from 9 now. So he's a horse going places. I think you told me off air some mail that he's going to go to the All-Age Stakes in 2 weeks' time.
Yep. Yeah, that's the mail that I think came through. Maybe our man G Hall, I think, sent that out.
A great Gareth.
On some type of social situation. So 2 weeks, so 1,400 Briasa. You'd think, look, it's only early in the prep as well. Nice progressive horse. Has the ability to be able to sit on speed. We talk about this so often. The high percentage players, if you can sit forward of midfield, no matter what kind of race you are, you're halfway there if you've got the ability to match it. Then, especially conversely against horses like Jimmy Star, who doesn't have that early speed at all, and we see him come out the back and charge home. So 1,400, no worries for him for Briasa, you think?
Look, I'd say just at that level, just got to tick the box, and it just depends on how the track's playing on the day. And this is something you've always got to think about when you're playing the futures markets, is that rail will come out to the 6 metre position. Now, we did sort of say when we did our Randwick sort of preview of how that track plays, that usually on the third day of the carnival, even though 6 metre rail at Randwick is quite often conducive to on-speed horses, sometimes they get away from it. You just got to see where the pattern is. But if the pattern is for an on-speed day, then you can bet your bottom dollar in that all-age stakes, they'll go pretty quick. So you need to make sure you've got a horse that can run out a very strong 1,400 where they can chase from the 800-metre mark right to the post. So I think he's showing the right signs. Best last 600 metres of the day in the Galaxy, first up off a fast tempo. 4th best last 600 metres of the day on Saturday off a moderate tempo, it must be said. But he did win up to 1,300 metres last preparation in that Newcastle race, and that was a fairly fast-run race as well. So he's showing the right signs. He's just got to go and tick that box.
Beautiful. So that's the hen house this week for Randwick, and some good intel on particular Briasa as he goes on to the all-age stakes. Time for the Dog House, and surprise, surprise, it's a 2-year-old race, my friend.
Yeah, the kindergarten stakes. I think, again, we just saw that these 2-year-old sprinters, there's no real star of them. North England's got the job done here. Half a second outside standard time. Last 400, 200 was only okay. It would be a pass mark off a genuine tempo, but this they should have come home a bit quicker, or they should have gone out a bit faster. Call it whatever you want. And for mine, I just think if you're playing into the space of those Queensland 2-year-old races, normally every year, these Sydney horses that ran well in these good races go up there and everyone wants to be on them. I'm saying this year could be the year where the Queenslanders, the locals, might actually dominate.
Yeah, it's a really good point. So that's the Dog House this week, race 1, Randwick, won by North England. Let's get to the other Group 1 races, because I think it's important to talk about these other ones, because we might have some other horses progressing throughout the championships, or even possibly going to Brisbane, as you mentioned earlier. Let's start with race 6, which was the English size. Now, before I get to this, my friend, 2 weeks ago after the Golden Slipper on our review show, you said this.
Vinrock. Now, he won the size produce down there in good time.
Yep.
He produced a good rating on my database going into after the size. He produced probably top 3 or 4 rating of any 2-year-old this season. Wodenton had the number 1 figure. He didn't get back to that figure. And obviously he almost went within what of winning the Golden Slipper.
Yeah.
Vinrock will put himself on pace, which I always think is an advantage in those 2-year-old races, as we saw again in the Golden Slipper on Saturday. And he's got the right numbers. So you're getting double figures about him to win the size produce. There's a bet for you for your futures markets as well.
So there you go. You've tipped the punters into Vinrock at double figures just because you wanted the different form line, no doubt, from the Golden Slipper. You didn't see much guts to that. It was off the map on Saturday. We'll get to that a little bit later with the hits and misses from the Pointsbet market team. But Vinrock wins. I think one of the only horses I would have thought to win the 1400 size at Flemington and then come out and win the actual Group 1 size in Sydney. So he's a horse with heaps of progression. Well done.
Yeah, no, thanks. Yeah, look, he just with our 2-year-olds up here and even the 2-year-old sprinters in Melbourne, they're all pretty even. Mahuna won the Golden Slipper because she's got the ability to set a couple of pairs further forward than Wodenton and Tempted. I think that's really all the difference was between those three. He was coming out of a very fast run and a high rating size. So I did some work for a breeder, and I said, look, on my stuff, this is as good a size as we've seen in Victoria for quite a few years. So he doesn't look that sexy because he just goes out and grinds up on top of the speed. But in this case, we saw a fast run size at Randwick on Saturday. That played into his hands big time because it meant a couple of things. One, the fact that he had a 1,400-metre run under the belt was a big advantage. And two, he had one of his biggest rivals, Wodenton, who drew barrier 9 and had only 2 options. You either go back to the tail of the field and concede a massive start, or you push forward and end up 3 wide, no cover, as he did. Everyone wanted to throw boiling water at Ryan Moore, but I would ask this, what did you expect? If he goes back to the tail of the field, he wouldn't have won that race, I'll tell you that now. And he just had to roll the dice. He did. Things didn't pan out. The right horse won on the day. Sorry, but he was the closest to the fence of all the runners as well, which was definitely not the place to be. He still won.
Yeah, no doubt Wodenton's probably peaked in the Golden Slipper as well. Just quickly, and you might not know this too much, but the Champagne obviously is the next 1,600-metre race for these horses. Is this a form line that we really want to be following, or are we still sort of sometimes looking for the DF, the different form line?
Yeah, the problem is that they've just had a bit of a gut buster. So Vinrock's now, he had 4 runs in his first preparation, Jules, or 3 runs in his first preparation.
Yeah.
And you've got, he's coming out of a fast run where they were away from the rail. This has got the ability to flatten him and just put him out for the preparation. So I guess you got to be sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? You got to be guided by what the stable does with him. And I think, probably the other race to look at is the Value from Sydney that I think ran last Tuesday, might have been at Rose Hill. I'm just trying to bring it up now as we talk. The Value was won by Nepotism. He's a horse. He's a horse that goes okay. Like, he's no absolute star, but he does go okay. He might be the Johnny on the spot. He was coming out of a slowly run 1,400-metre race where he zipped home. The last 400 metres ranked 16th for the day. That's the rescheduled Tuesday meeting with the Tancred and the Vinery. He's now going to be third up with the 1,400-metre run. He's going to be your Vinrock in the Champagne Stakes. For mine, he's probably the one you want to be on.
All right, beautiful. Good lead in there from Nick Ashman for the Champagne. Let's get to another Group 1. It was the Doncaster Handicap won by Steffi Magnetica, and half a second at least outside standard time just shows, and obviously not many margins through the line here, just shows that they went really slowly in this 1,600-metre race.
Yeah, it was a bit yuck, wasn't it? And then look, the last 600 metres was only maybe half. Like
it's a bit junky, to be honest, isn't it? It's a bit junky, this whole race.
Yeah, I don't like it at all. They went out slow. They came home average. I won't say they came home slow.
Yeah.
They came home average. But the slow pace, Steffi Magnetic is a 1,400-metre specialist. She won the Stradbroke Handicap last year. She probably lacks the zip to be right at the top level over 1,200 metres. She's a real 1,400-metre specialist, and we've seen plenty of them over the years. It's a good distance these days with multiple Group 1s at weight for age over 1,400. But because she got a slowly run mile and she was able to sit 7th or 8th in the run, she was right there and she could use that turn of foot to get past the horses in front of her. She's a sharper horse than Royal Patronage. She's a sharper horse than Rise at Dawn. I don't know why they didn't go quicker on Rise at Dawn. I thought that was his chance on Saturday. He's been beaten half a length. If he goes 2 lengths faster in front, I tell you what, I reckon he might have pinched it. And these other horses that were behind her, she's just got a good turn of foot and she was in the right spot. So I think it was just a case of race shape dictated the outcome of that race rather than the best horse. And I say that with all due respect to Steffi Magnetica.
Yeah, very good. And let's get to the last of the 4 Group 1s that were on Saturday. It was the Australian Derby. It was race 9. It was won by a filly and she was absolutely truckloaded, $3.60 into $2.25. Her name's Aeliana. I've got her well inside standard time here, Nico. And the last 400, 200, not too bad either. She's going places. It says she says that she's going places, but it also says market was telling us before the race. The margin tells us after the race. These older staying 3-year-olds, cactus.
Yeah, I agree. She's beaten them, and she's beaten them well. But I hate to sound like a knob, but on Thursday's show, I think it might have said, I reckon she wins and is the Caulfield Cup favourite, mate. And she, for mine, I don't want to crow too early because she's just beaten up horses that I don't think are that good. But she's there to do the Cups double this year. She can win a Caulfield Cup for sure. The Oaks and Derbies are a great guide. The 3-year-olds, it's a great race for 4-year-olds, the Caulfield Cup. And I don't think there's a better staying 3-year-old than her at the moment. I think Treasure of the Moment, I agree with your sentiments from a few weeks ago. I think she'll probably be targeted to the mile 2,000-metre races in the spring. And I think Aeliana will just have a crack. We'll talk about her in a moment's time in terms of Caulfield Cup, but I think that's where she probably heads. She was very flat sectionals as well in that there was no real spike. She just cruised and went and hammered. She lifted a bit at the top of the straight, and then she just kept on going when the others started to drop off. It was a great example of sustained speed, a little quicker when she needed it, and then just holding that sprint right to the line. That's what we see from these really good horses in grand finals.
It's really been an interesting one because our Instagram social question box has just lit up as well, that this was a big day. 4 Group 1s, quality horses, plenty of talking horses, but out of it, everyone's asking us questions about Aeliana and where she fits. So we're going to answer those questions, but the people watching this show as well, make sure you get on Instagram and you actually can ask our questions because we will answer all of them. If they're obviously not in the show, we'll go out of our way to actually answer them and get back to you. She is outstanding. Let's get to the hits and misses now from the Pointsbet trading floor. Not too many here, Nico, but they seem to land. Race 2, Baldotel, $15 into $5 hits. We spoke about this race. You put it in the hen house. We want to be with her.
Yeah, 100%. But both her and Polymnia. Now, the reason why she was backed really hard, Polymnia was nice and firm. She wasn't a massive drifter in the race. Polymnia had a good turn of foot and Baldotel has a good turn of foot. And it was going to be a slowly run race. Market identified that. I think the reason why they really came for her, though, particularly late and allowed Polymnia just to get out half a point or so, or whatever her drift was, it wasn't massive, is because she was going to be in front of her in the run. And I think the market identified that and they said, well, she's going to have a small head start and that might be just enough for her to snatch victory.
Race 5, Gallant Star, $3.10 into $2.60. Misses here, unplaced. I thought it was probably a bit disappointing to the eye.
Just too close to a hot speed, Jules. They went through the first 800 metres, nearly 7 lengths above standard. So, and he got that lovely trailing run, but I think 1400's the top of his limit.
Yep.
And on a hot speed 1400, he's going to be found wanting, particularly after when you come up that Randwick rise, you get up the top. If you're spent when you get to the top, you almost cannot win. So I think he looked a spent horse when he got to the top. He wanted to lay in, and I think he just needs a slightly softer tempo over 1,400.
Race 6 was the English sires, Vin Rock. They wanted to be with this horse, $6 into $3.30. Look, there's obviously factors involved in this, but you talked about this 2 weeks ago after the slipper. They wanted a different form line, didn't they?
They did. They wanted a different form line. They also identified that he was going to go forward. They also identified that Woderton, which we spoke about in the previous show, had only 2 options: go back to the tail of the field or roll the dice and go forward. And if you roll the dice and go forward and you're the $2.50 or $3 favourite in a Group 1 race, guess what?
Yep.
The other jockeys are going to keep you out wide. And the 1,400-metre start point at Randwick, as we said on Thursday's previous show, is the trickiest at the track. So that's the one where you're going to get absolutely towed up by your rival jockeys.
Beautiful. And the other hit was in race 9, the Australian Derby, which we've spoken about, the filly Aeliana, $3.60 into $2.25. We could talk about her a lot, but we're going to talk about her right at the end of the show. So it hits there. Let's get to In the Fox's Den, horses that you might have identified that we can follow with a bit of confidence here, Nico. You've got 2 for us.
Yeah, just be wary. Championships are the grand finals for a lot of horses, so just be careful with looking at slashing runs. Belle de Tel's one I'm definitely putting in. If she backs up, she is a chance at knocking off Treasure of the Moment. I still think Treasure of the Moment will win, but she's got a little bit of sexiness about her. Like she's got that turn of foot. I think she's got the pedigree to stay. If it's a really fast run, 2,400 metres, on that 7-day backup with a lovely race shape, there's just a small hope, a small glimmer of hope that she could knock off the really good filly. And the other one is Kimochi. Now, I had something, I sort of was talking about her in the previous show on Thursday. I had something on her at the $26 or $31. She was 3 wide, no cover throughout the TJ Smith, and I think she ran 4th in the end. She battled home really well. Gary Portelli's understanding this filly mare really well, and that is just keep it fresh. I think she can just have a freshen up now, go up to Queensland. Maybe she runs in the Doomben 10,000. Maybe she goes straight to a Tats Tiara. But just look for her. She's very effective over 12 to 1,400 metres with a nice freshen up just next time back when she's got a better gate.
Beautiful. That's In the Fox's Den from Nick Ashton up at Randwick. Let's get to Through the Line really quick and fast answers here, Nico. I'll kick us off. How good is Aeliana?
Well, I think she wins the Caulfield Cup later this year. I was happy to mention that. And then my question coming back to you is, I think she'll win that, and I think she'll then go on and be a big chance in the Melbourne Cup. Am I right in thinking she gets, you're the weights man, you're the ex-handicapper, 51.5 to 52 kilos in the Caulfield Cup?
Yeah, it's interesting. I went back and had a look at sort of fillies through the Caulfield Cup and obviously the Melbourne Cup. They're usually given about the same weight. And depending if she was to come out and win first up, say, a Group 1 race before those weights are released, because the weights are now released a little bit later, that you actually get 1 or 2 of these Group 1s ran beforehand. But you go back to 2019, Very Elegant was given 52.5 kilos. Now, Very Elegant won a Vinery and also won the Oaks, and she was given 52.5. A horse like Bonneval, I think in 2017, Nico, had won the New Zealand Oaks and then won the Australian Oaks and was given something like 52.5. So I think you're right. I think you're looking at around 51.5, 52 kilos if we can find that natural top weight at the top for the Caulfield Cup. I'd be surprised
if she wins, it gets a penalty.
If she wins
the Caulfield Cup, what kind of a penalty?
Yeah, well, I mean, if she wins the Caulfield Cup, say with 51.5, don't be surprised. I think she's going to get 2.5. She's not going to get any more than that, but depending on margins and things like that. But she's going to be also right in the race, you would have thought. I have a feeling that if you win the Caulfield Cup, the penalty doesn't hurt you when you're going in the Melbourne Cup, because you're airborne and you're going better than a lot of the other horses are probably half rat power just trying to get to those kinds of races. So, she's the possibility to be able to do a double, something like a Ethereal probably was the last mare to be able to do that. So it sets up well for her. But I think, if you're looking at weights for Aeliana, I'd be thinking they're not going to give her as much as, say, what they gave Very Elegant and Bonneval, who sort of had probably a better profile with 52.5. So I think maybe 51.5, 52 is where she sits for that. Now, you speak a lot about flat sectionals. Explain what this means and why it can be good and why it can be bad.
Right. Well, flat sectionals are where there's no real increase in speed relative to sort of class figures for a horse through any section of the race. So Alaukans, for instance, who won the Chairman's on Saturday, she's a great example of flat sectionals where She just keeps on going at the same speed. Might and Power was a bit like that back in the day. They don't have a massive turn of foot, but what they do is by the time they get to the 600, a lot of their rivals are just busted. They're quite often front-running horses. They're on-speed horses. It depends on the race tempo. So if it's a really fast-run race, they mightn't be leading, but they'll be there punching away. And when the leaders start to drop off, they just keep punching past because they just keep going that 11 and a half or 12 seconds to the furlong, whatever they're doing. They're good in fast-run races, and they're good in races where the jockey's got the initiative to lead and dominate from the front and is happy to lead by 4, 5, 6 lengths if that's what it's required. Where they're not good is if it's a slowly run race and they take a sit because they can't sprint past their other horses. So when you're doing a sectional study, quite often I love identifying a horse that's had flat sectionals over 14 or 1,600 metres that's going to go up in trip, because if they get a more positive ride or they get a faster tempo, that is the kind of horse that can jump out of the ground. And I find that the pros still are missing those types of horses because they don't have the big whirlwind finish, but they're the ones that you can make some money out of.
Yeah, it's a really good point. They can absorb pressure, but they're also ones that I think also when they go down in weight, it probably doesn't help them that much because they don't have that turn of foot. We love those horses that sometimes go down in weight when they've got great acceleration because it helps them. But the horses that you're identifying right there can absorb pressure. It doesn't matter if they go up in weight or go down in weight. They'll just keep doing what they do. So that's very good intel for the punters out there, my friend.
Yeah, it is. And we'll see this Saturday with the Sydney Cup. Now, before I let you go, before we go, I want to ask you, there was a horse called Soft Love down your way that won really well on Saturday. Now, you know I love finding a Stradbroke horse. You know this about me.
I thought I had this to myself, to be honest. So when this question came through, I was like, you're a disgrace.
So you like her. And I think she's a Queensland winter filly. I really do.
Yeah, I think so we go back to her and she's had, 3 starts or something like that. So she wins on debut. I've got that rating 6. So that's great of how I do that. That's neither here nor there. Then she has a break. She comes first up. I think she goes to, I can't remember where it was, Bendigo or somewhere like that. And she rates 5. And then she goes into this race on Saturday, and it's a hot race, and hence why her price was double figures. It was really good quality. I thought this was going to be the best race of the day. It's ended up I've rated at 9. Now, for me to be rating it at 9 above the benchmark that I usually do for Metro is just unseen, unheard of. I'll do it in the country a lot, and that's when you identify horses that can end up Saturday class and black type class. But when you get them in the Metro area, in an open handicap to be able to rate 9, then you're going, okay, we've got group class. So if you talk about Queensland, I think if I had her, and again, I'm aiming for the stars here, Nico, so I'm going, okay, well, let's be really aggressive with this horse because we might only get one opportunity. I'm thinking I have a crack at the Fred Best, and if you win the Fred Best, that gets you automatic entry into your race that you speak of, the Stradbroke, and that's what I would do because she's going to be on the minimum there. That's how I would do that. I think you have to run first or second in the Fred Best. You might have to win it. I can't remember what it was. I know it used to be the Quinella got in, but it might only be winner only. So you're running a big risk. But if you run in that race, the reward there is absolutely exponential growth. So that's what I would do if I had her, but I've got no idea what the plan is with this horse. They could easily go softly with her, but I'd love to see them do what you say, go to Queensland, run in the Fred Best, win that, and then have a crack at the Stradbroke.
100%. Now, for everyone out there, don't bother looking at any markets. She's not in the Stradbroke yet. So I've scanned everywhere before I came on here today. Sadly,
that's why I can talk about it. That's why I can talk about it. If she was in the markets, don't worry, that price would be gone and we wouldn't be mentioning it.
I was furiously looking at it this morning when I was looking at all the figures. Oh, geez, this thing's pretty good. I sent that message into you and I didn't get a response. I thought, I've hit a raw nerve here. But glad to see you like it too.
No, she's a ripper. Don't ever do that ever again about a horse that we might have found by ourselves. So that was good. Mate, thank you. Very good intel on day 1 of the championships. I'll see you again Thursday as we go through the preview for day 2 of the championships. Go well, my friend.
Love you, buddy.
All right, so a bid farewell to Nick Ashman. Now we bring in Clint Hutchison for the review of Caulfield this week. Hutch, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm very well, thanks. Had a good weekend. Enjoyed the weekend. Didn't do a lot at Caulfield, so the ledger was pretty much flat there, but no, I enjoyed the weekend. I'm happy to be in here on a Monday.
Yeah, and good. Well, that's good. That's holidays. At least one of us is happy to be in here.
You know why? School holidays.
Yes.
No
traffic. Beautiful.
Well, away from the kids, I can come in here and hang out with you, Jules.
Well, we'll go for a long lunch and we'll never be seen again. So maybe we'll do that. That'll be fantastic. Off season though now in Victoria, isn't it? So we've got to start thinking about that. And I think even this week when we look at the form guide, it's one of those meetings where we're at the country track. It's Bendigo. So we are now purely into off-season. Yes, big Group 1 racing in New South Wales, but we've got off-season now.
We do. And I think interestingly, I mean, I looked at the collective meeting at Caulfield. It was probably how it appeared on paper pre the meeting. Nothing really stood out one way or the other. I mean, I don't think there were any really shocking races. I don't think there were any great races. It was just sort of all a little bit meh.
Yeah, and I think that's what might happen, except I've got one that I reckon might be a bit more than meh.
Okay.
But we'll get to it. Let's get to the track intel to begin with. So, Hutchi, out 9 metres the entire circuit, good fall throughout the day. I just thought the inside lanes were a little bit inferior ground. I thought they wanted to come off. I thought anything sort of in lanes 1, 2, and even probably a little bit to lanes 3. I think we can be a little bit forgiving if they find the right race again. Horses wanted to be sort of 4+, and I think that was probably the place to be at Caulfield on Saturday.
That way, who would have thought track patterns? They're pretty rare, aren't they, these days?
Oh, yeah.
We don't see them very often.
We don't, which is interesting because it was a good 4. There was no real extra irrigation. There was no real any other factor, but they just didn't want to be anywhere near those sort of lanes 1 and 2. No. So, and when you were struggling. So, don't know much to read about it. But as we say, we're going to go further out with these rails now because they're not the big days. So if we are playing at Caulfield, we are playing at Flemington, we're probably going to see the rails out 6, 9, 12, 15, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So we've got to factor that in.
I think as a consequence, you kind of got to wait till late.
Yeah.
And I know there's some historical data.
Yeah.
But we had the day at Caulfield not all that long ago where there was a northerly, which should make it hard to lead into the wind. And it was up and in. So look, I'd be waiting until the day.
Yep.
And I struggle more so in these winter months, I think, with your form generally. And I think one big advantage you have to have, or one fact you have to really take into consideration strongly, is playing later once you've seen a pattern.
No, it's a very good shout for the punters out there. Let's get to the Hen House, Hutch. The races that we want to identify that we thought went strong. And this is the race that I was madly in love with. Going into this race, I thought it was probably the best race on the day because there were some horses with progression. I talk of race 7. The winner was Soft Love. We spoke about it with Nick Ashman, obviously, at the back end of that review in Sydney. They've gone 1 1/4 seconds inside standard time. 22.80, 11.49. Winners come home 11.18. I think she is one out of the box. I got this horse progressing to group class, my friend.
Yeah, she was good, wasn't she? I mean, she quickened up like a nice style of horse. Matt Laurie's got some good horses in these colours,
I'll just quickly say he does. And I want to also give you a bit of a rap because 2 or 3 weeks ago, you identified this horse. You put it in our Fox's Den. So as much as I'm in love with this horse, you might have hard love with this horse, not just soft love.
Wish I had to listen to myself in many reasons. I didn't think she'd go to that level. I honestly thought that I was looking for one that could win a couple, maybe benchmark along the way, but they've got a good opinion and they came back to her own age group. So, look, she was really good. She's improved a lot off that last run.
Yeah,
but she has that kind of profile. So
yeah.
And she wanted to stick with.
Yeah, and I think she could actually progress again. There might still be more under the bonnet. So we're even predicting that maybe just take her up to Queensland and have a crack at, some of those better 3-year-old races. And if you ended up in a Stradbroke at your 5th start, why not? That's how good I think she is.
This is
She's
new areas.
Probably new areas, rare areas, wrong areas. Let's get to race 9, the other race I've put into the Hen House. Nicolino Vito wins this race, second up, getting to 1,400 metres. 1 1/3 second inside standard time. Again, 11.52 overall, but he comes home 11.09. Again, this race seems to have gone off the charts, but we know Nicolino Vito. We know a lot of these horses that it ran against. This one, yes, it's gone really good. I'm just asterixing a little bit.
I am too. We know Nicolino Vito. We know this horse. We know some of them around him.
It's a peak for me for this horse. So
it's
a big peak
for me too.
Yeah.
But it's not an amazing sort of number that he's thrown out. But it's saying that he could be in a reasonable stakes race and be competitive. I don't know. Like,
it's hard though to go, okay, we know this horse so well. Like he's a 5 or 6 year old, and now he's come out and done this big number. So it just makes you think, we can't have improved that much.
Yeah.
What's happened there? So, as I said, an asterisk, but I think it's a race the market will gravitate towards. Yeah. Other horses around it who are probably early in their prep, whenever they go 3rd up, 4th up, wherever they may be in the next couple of weeks, I think it's a race the market will love.
Yeah, there weren't big margins, but that's not necessarily the case with this race, where the overall time was good, like you said, and he was good. They were riding him handy. They rode him a bit colder. Maybe that suited him. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But he came off that valley track, which was the ploughed paddock, as we know. But it shows they can come off those tracks as well
Yeah,
and
that's a good
perform. I
point.
know you were a bit concerned at the time about, is it going to bottom
I didn't want
horse
to be
out?
with any of them.
Yeah, I'm not a subscriber to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what happens with a lot of those races, some horses just won't let down on it.
Yeah.
So I think they actually come out of it fine.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll see how the rest of the format of that Valley card proves to be.
Absolutely. That's the hen house this week for Caulfield. Dog house, usually we fill this with 5 or 6 races, in particular usually 2-year-old races, Hutch. But I've gone with I'm holding off. Now, there was one.
You swung.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I swing. Yeah, interesting ways sometimes. 2,400 metres, that race that was won by Statuario, I was going to put it in because they went so slowly. But it demolished them and it might have some progression and it was off the map. So there's a couple of factors that I go, I'm going to keep you out of the doghouse because you're enough there, but it's winner only. I think anything behind Statuario can be in the doghouse.
They're barking.
Yes.
I mean, look, they're Statuario maybe. I'm not completely convinced about that horse either, but another one that came out of the Valley and ran well, probably against the pattern. I feel like there'll be other horses with other form lines that probably will head towards South Australia that we can follow.
Yeah.
He was okay. The rest of them are
concerned.
Very ordinary.
Yeah.
And he beat absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and he did what he probably needed to do if you're going to put your hand up to be a player in a race like a South Australian Derby, which is not the strongest Group 1 race, but you needed to do something like that. He made a mess of him, but you needed to. That's the doghouse. Hits and misses from the Pointsbet trading floor here, Hutch. So we're just going to identify these horses that they were backed. Do we want to continue to be with them? Why do we think they were backed on Saturday? Was it just a one-off for them due to the pattern or something else? Let's start with race 1, Scenic Point. It's now 2 from 2, $1.80 into $1.40. It's a big hit. Might be the 2-year-old we've been screaming for.
Yes, we've been waiting for one, and you finally got one there that you go, this one could be all right. And she could be all right too. I was actually a bit disappointed that she didn't win a little easier, to be honest. I thought, interesting, I looked at the numbers posted. It's not as good as what she did at Pakenham on my stuff, off a steadier sort of speed. But, she might get over a bit of ground, Jules. I
think she might be the 1,000 Guineas horse.
Right.
There we go. So, and I don't know when markets will go out for that, but she's the one. She just still seems to do a lot wrong.
Well, not only that, when will the 1,000 Guineas be? Will they move?
Well,
back?
it's got to go back to the original, please. Let's get it before the Oaks and not at the back end. It's just
made a lot of sense that one.
Garbage.
But anyway, getting back to her.
Yes, I think she does still a lot wrong. So I think another time where she goes back, she has break, they sort of do some more education with her. I think she'll come back a more seasoned horse, and I think she'll do some real damage in the spring because I think she's just doing it all on pure ability. You can just see her when she doesn't really flatten out correctly. She sort of does things wrong. She'll lay in, she'll lay out. There's a bit to work there with Scenic Point.
Follow her race from Pakenham that she won the maiden. It was very fast speed. The horse that led up there went to Cranbourne last week, started $17 in early markets. There was some money late and got beat a short head ridden differently. But this is one of her maiden Pakenham. There'll be horses down the list in the right races that could run well.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Race 2, Prancing Spirit. We're going to get to Prancing Spirit in the Setting Fire section, so a little bit of a teaser there. Market wanted to be with this horse, $11 into $4.80. It's a miss. You've ran second. Tearing your hair out.
Should have won. Clearly should have won.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it a little bit more later. Yeah. But, Heart of Glass was good. I know it was a horse that you thought would run well and did.
Got lucky there.
Are they going to stick to 1,200 for me? I don't know. I know they're saying, 1,200, but to me it looked like that freshness was out of the legs there. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd rather go up a little bit in distance.
Okay. Interesting. It's interesting to see what they do. But, Prancing Spirit probably should have won that. So the market was right on with Prancing Spirit, no doubt there. Race 3, Just Glamorous, $3.90 into $2.25. This was a horse that came down from Sydney. Had a big number on it, sort of first up run, second up was only fair, but they wanted to be with it. It rolled forward, went at a really fast tempo, and then sort of got really soft late, runs third. Do we want to be with it again? Because this is a fast run race. I'm a little bit worried about it next start anyway.
I'll be forgiving. I mean, you mentioned that the inside was no good.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And went forward and was in the worst spot and actually was there for a long way.
Yeah.
I'd be following that market money and no, with the right stable, they're tough.
Yeah, they are. That's a good point too. They are tough, so there's no issue there. Race 4, Hughes, big hit here, $7.50 into $4.50, makes it 2 in a row. First up, it beat one of ours called Astral Flame, which we've got a big opinion of. They just need to do a couple of things there and it'll become a group horse. But it's going well, this horse, Hughes.
Right place, right time.
Yep.
It's a bit like you very often throughout your life, just in the right spot and capitalise.
Yeah, it's important to capitalise. Race 5, Statuario. We've spoken about this horse, $2.55 into $1.65. So as we said, it shows more probably about the Oppo, doesn't it?
There was no. I mean, in the field, there was Red Aces who was second elect, who's going horribly actually, with probably some excuses.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the SP, I wasn't surprised they came for Statuario. It didn't mean I want to take that price, but it won like $1.20 chance to be honest.
It did, and it just I think it shows as much as what they might have the number for Statuario. It shows more about the Oppo and just that don't be with them, as we said.
I don't know where they go with some of them.
Yeah, well, they'll end up in benchmark 58s at Bairnsdale. But that's no joke. Race
we've really taken a hammering to them. Sorry for all the connections in those ones in behind.
But hopefully you can get
It's
a win.
a reality.
Race 7, Thames, $9.50 into $3.90. Runs really well, sort of as Matty Hill said. It's the looping run. Misses runs second, but there might be something in this horse. The market absolutely hammered this, to be honest, in a really deep race that we think has gone really well, with Soft Love being the winner. I think we can follow this horse, but let's just even plot a path to benchmark 70s, benchmark 78s, and that's where I think this horse can be. Race 8, Poison Chalice, 9 into $2.65, runs unplaced. I'm not so sure here.
It was a weird race with the market, this event.
Yeah.
I wasn't surprised.
A big go.
I wasn't surprised it was backed. I was surprised at the amount of money, and it just kept coming and coming and coming. And, probably with that pattern that you mentioned, I don't know, was it one off in the run? It might have been in the absolute A ground. So I think it had pretty much its chance, but gee, it was.
It was hammered as if they'd had Biff Salmon. Yeah, correct. Yeah. Race 9, Globe, was first up, 11 into $5.50, miss unplaced. He's always been a tricky horse to capture, Globe. He's got those big numbers, so I can understand why the market gravitates towards him sometimes. I don't know. He's always buyer beware for me, Globe.
Deal me out.
Yep. Okay, very good. Hits and misses this week. Righto, setting fire to it. We're going to really break down this race 2 at Caulfield. Now, full disclosure, I was on Heart of Glass, so yes, we get the win, but let's actually review the race. And as we can see, they jump. That's all fine. The horse we're sort of identifying here is the horse that runs second, Hutch, called Prancing Spirit. Now, once we get to the turn, I think this is the moment of truth that I just felt like there was a gap, or not so much a gap. I thought there was space here for Daniel Stackhouse to get out on Prancing Spirit. Heart of Glass wasn't there yet. You can see here, Heart of Glass, I still think there's space for Prancing Spirit to come to the outside and play the high percentage play. What's the low percentage play? Go back to the inside and ride for luck. Just take the luck out of it. If you get beaten by one onto the outside, if you're on the outside, so be it. But if you get back beaten on the inside and you haven't had the luck, then I think that's a problem. And I think that's what's happened here between that 400 and the 300. And then obviously it's an absolute horror show close to the post. He should have won this race.
It's a complete unforced error. It's a poor decision-making at a key stage. I don't understand why when he's in that spot, there's very little risk to come around the horse who was in front of him and just a bit wide. And I think he just erred for a few strides.
Yeah.
And it was just a bad call.
Yeah.
And then particularly when you got the favourite behind you, he was of course going to try and keep up there and hold you in. So he should have quite clearly come around heels there. And Prancing Spirit was a moral beating. There's no doubt about it. And it was a bad decision. And it was a decision that most senior jockeys shouldn't make. You shouldn't make that mistake at that stage of the race.
Yeah, it was surprising. So that's the one that's setting fire to it, because I think if you're on Prancing Spirit, you had every reason to kick the bin, kick the bucket, and kick the cat. Right, let's get to In the Fox's Den. Hutch, there's a bit in this. You're going to kick us off, and you're kicking us off. Well, the first horse is fine, but the second horse I need a therapist about. But let's go. Where are we going? Victorious is first, I think, my friend.
Yeah, Victorious. Now, this horse won at Geelong. Now, I want to bring up this horse who resumed recently, won first up. Now, the margin wasn't big. The other factor is that it's with a stable that's only had a handful of runners, Miss G. Brown. Don't know much about it. Gee whiz. Look, only had a handful of runners. She probably doesn't have many horses. I don't really know much about her, but just sometimes with these smaller stables, you can get a better price than probably what you should. The overall race is rated quite well.
Yep.
And I thought there was a fair bit of merit to the win given what had transpired in the actual race. So this is a horse that I'm going to be sticking with. I think they can go up in grade one more time, maybe two. You might get a better price because it's not with a big stable.
Yep.
And Victorious may well have come back better. It's only had a handful of starts. Like I said, it's really improved on what we saw last preparation. So there's one. My other one.
No, this one's like you're a few days late. April 1 was a while ago.
Oh, what happened?
Well, I mean, clearly this has got to be. We're going into the jumpers now, are we? We're going into the jump season, mate. We're now into hurdle. You are now providing us with hurdlers.
Yeah, I know. I think.
Where are we at?
Well, this horse was very unlucky. I'm just going to get its name back up because I got
Sing for peace.
It should have nearly won at Ballarat,
Okay.
right? Okay, now Paddy Payne's had a lot of these horses that he's been entering all over the place in some of these staying races. They've obviously ridden this one very patiently.
Okay.
Patiently.
Yeah.
Didn't find a lot of room.
Okay.
In the home straight.
Okay. I'm getting what you're putting down.
Now, I know you love a trip to the Bull.'ve seen you in action at the Bull.
Yeah. Okay. Were you in the back of the ambulance with me?
It was entertaining. And anyway, this horse I don't know where he's going to go, but it'll be one for the Bull.
He is a jumper though. So he's been good on the flat, and but he does go over the sticks.
Over the jumps before, and he needed a run obviously to get fit. But I tell you what, in that benchmark, it was a decent race at Ballarat that he competed in, and the race is rated well. I mean, I'd be following him in a normal race. If I don't want to be saying the Bull's not normal, but do you know what I mean?
No, I do know what you mean. So that's the Bull. I just want to quickly say about the Bull, I'm trying to get some momentum from Pointsbet to actually put some dollars behind this, but I think Bull by the Pool up on the Gold Coast while the Warrnambool is on in the sun.
Everyone with beanies on and stuff, freezing.
I think Bull by the Pool. So Pointsbet, I'm pushing hard for this. So can we please do that? Get the punters involved, whatever we need to do. Can you please respond to that in a glowing terms if you're watching this race? Yeah. Bull by the Pool. It's on. We're trying to get
one more though.
Yes.
A maiden.
Good.
Global Eclipse.
Okay.
It ran at Geelong as well. It ran second.
I know, backed it. And it went great, massive margin to third. And the one came off its back. I know exactly what it was. It was one for our round off the account bet holders too.
Muirfield or that the horse that bet at Muirfield?
It was one of Greg Urell's.
Yes, I backed that one.
Yeah. That race has gone great.
Yes.
And we were just the sitting duck. Glad you mentioned it.
These things happen.
Glad you mentioned it. All right, for me.
Think about that by the Pool.
Few for me. Denmark, second up on Saturday. I thought it was pretty good. Went back to the inferior ground on the inside. I think now third up, it will explode. It'll be its peak run for the prep. Wherever we find it, we want to be with it. Rocking at Midnight was first up. It's got this race going okay. It had the blinkers off. Now, before it went to the break, it won at Moonee Valley with the blinkers on, and it went through the roof, rating as high as I've ever rated a race at Moonee Valley, I think. So we get the blinkers back on. I thought it was great through the line. Be with Rocking at Midnight. A couple have just won some maidens at Ballarat called Jahangir and Legacy Bound. I want to be with both of them, Hutch. I think you identified both of them as well, so stick with the strength. And another horse called Zunna, Zunna. I think we want to be with it. I've got it going very good as well. That's in the Fox's Den. Mate, we're done. We got any footy talk?
I want to talk about Gather Round. I want to talk about you going to South Australia because they interviewed an AFL footballer during the week and he said, what are you going to do? And he said, I don't like South Australia. I'm just going to play Xbox.
No, I love South Australia.
So, tell me about it.
I think South Australia is it's on the rise. It's now got some laneways, hidden bars, hidden other things. It's just fantastic.
Find anything hidden.
Absolutely. So I'll be there from Thursday till Sunday. I have to come back Sunday for Footy Furnace, obviously Sunday night. So that's going to be a really fun trip. So I'll have the bag out for that, not the spew bag, obviously, to try to get into because that could be a bit of a worry. But I'm excited by it.
Yes.
I'm catching up with someone who I thought was dead. He barracks for the Crows. The Foxcatcher team might know him, but
he's a big Crow supporter.
He's a big Crow supporter, and I'm a Cats supporter. So we're going to go to the Thursday night game.
I think it's going to be a long night for you, my friend. I'm tipping the Crows in that one.
On the 5-day backup, the Crows is a bit in this. We love the 5-day backup. So last year, the 5-day backup was good. Teams absolutely relished it. This is the first team this year to be on the 5-day backup against a team not on the 5-day backup. Essendon played Port Adelaide in round 3 on both, but they were both off the 5-day backup. There's a lot of garbage. I mean, speaking here, Hutch, but listen, we love the 5-day backup. So I think the Crows will put a hole in them.
So you could win even though you're going to lose.
I think I'll be. Or what I will do is the total point line will probably go up this afternoon. We're talking Monday right now, and I reckon they'll go up high. They might go about 180.5. It's too low.
All right,
let's go high. We're going the up. We're going the over.
Okay. One other thing.
Yes.
Don't FaceTime me when you're in South Australia.
I have a Nokia, so I can't. Well, that's my excuse. See you, Hutch. See you guys.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.